following is a conversation with Sally Fallon, the founding president of the Weston A. Price Foundation. She is the author of the best-selling cookbook, Nourishing Traditions, also the book Eat Fat, Lose Fat, co-author of Nourishing Broth, and her latest book, co-authored with Dr. Thomas Cowan, The Contagion Myth, Why Viruses, including the coronavirus, are not the cause of disease. Sally and her husband, Jeffrey Morell, live on a pasture-based farm that produces award-winning artisan raw cheese, whey-fed woodlands pork, pastured poultry, and pastured eggs. The farm does not use corn, soy, GMOs, pesticides, herbicides, hormones, or antibiotics. Sally received a bachelor's degree from Stanford University and a master's degree with high honors from UCLA. She is the mother of 4 and has 4 beautiful grandchildren, all brought up according to the Nourishing Traditions principles. You are listening to the Co-Movement Gym podcast, where we inspire people to move and live courageously. If you are enjoying our content, please support our sponsors in the description. I thank each and every one of you for being with us on this journey called life. Now enjoy the show. Folks, listen up. I want to take a brief moment and thank our podcast show sponsors, Lombardi Chiropractic, Native Path Supplements, and Redmond Life. Lombardi Chiropractic has been my personal chiropractor for 10 years and has kept my body strong and healthy. Native Path supplements are used by numerous co-movement clients and our coaching team here at the facility. I highly recommend that you try their chocolate collagen peptides. I was made aware of Redmond Life by one of our trainers here at the facility, who recommended I try Relight electrolyte powder. This supplement has dramatically improved my afternoon energy levels and overall hydration. I'd like to thank these 3 companies for providing outstanding service and products that make our society healthier and more resilient. Mention the Co-Movement Gym podcast when you call Lombardi Chiropractic, and not only will they treat you like family, they will provide a nice, enticing discount to all listeners. And use code COMO15, that's C-O-M-O 15, at checkout when shopping at nativepath.com or redmond.life and receive 15% off all your orders. Your support to our show sponsors assists in us paying for expenses and continuing to provide content we hope you all enjoy. So we're sitting with Sally Fallon, founding and current president of the Weston A. Price Foundation, and the author of a book that changed my life, Nourishing Traditions.
Thank you.
So if you're listening to this, go out and find this book. Yep. And so you had an amazing talk at Polyface Farm just a few hours ago.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I took
you.
so many notes. And there's a few questions I wanted to ask you about.
Sure.
So you mentioned that individuals will crave carbohydrates if they're lacking fat in their diet.
Right.
Can you expand on that?
So we need a lot of saturated fat for our bodies to work properly. And saturated fats are so important that we have a backup plan because some traditional diets don't have a lot of fat in them. And that backup plan is to make fat out of carbohydrates, make saturated fat out of carbohydrates. So if you're not getting enough saturated fat, you're going to crave carbohydrates.
Sure, which is like most of the Americans.
Right, and you'll make the saturated fats, but you're not getting the same nutrients from the carbs, and they might upset your blood sugar levels or whatever. So it's much better to eat the fats.
Yeah, and the carbohydrates, and so many people think fat makes you fat, but we know, right, that it's the carbohydrates and the sugar that create obesity and the MSG.
MSG will make you fat, and it's in all processed food.
It is, yeah. Another reason people should avoid processed foods.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, I want people to seek out more animal fats, and they're probably not going to crave carbohydrates as much. Because I own a gym up in Central New York, and we do a lot of nutrition and fitness consulting. And that is a big struggle for a lot of people, is carbohydrate cravings, especially like midday. Their glucose drops, and then they start looking for the candy, the chips, the soda, you know.
Well, I think the first thing anyone who wants to control their weight should vow is to only eat 3 meals a day.
Mm-hmm.
Eat whatever you want in those meals. Have dessert, have your carbs, but just get into that habit of only 3 meals a day and never eat anything between meals.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Sure.
Then, if you're trying to lose weight, you should probably cut back on carbs. But I eat carbs. I still eat bread and sourdough bread and potatoes and things like that. Just not a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We hear a lot of times, like you had said, if we stick to the 3 square meals a day, a lot of people will say in between meals they eat like a whole bag of Skittles, or they just eat a half a jar of peanut butter, because they're grazing, but that grazing adds up tremendously with calories, right?
By the way, there was this recent study that showed that the one food that predisposed you to weight gain the most was potato chips.
Okay, sure. And now, would you think?
And that's because you can't eat just one.
Absolutely.
You have to eat the whole bag. And I think it's partially because they put addiction technology in the bag. They put in MSG and other substances that you can't stop, make you just keep eating.
Absolutely, yes. So liver. Okay, after hearing you talk, I'm going to be consuming liver.
Okay,
so I eat beef heart, chicken hearts. We do all the 100% grass fed. We have a farm up in Central New York. But liver, I'm not consuming it. And I had a bad experience. So years ago.
Oh, really?
Well, I cooked it in a pan with butter. Yeah. And I cooked it wrong, right? And so
liver. Beef liver and lamb liver is a bit hard to cook. It has to be really fresh. You usually soak it in milk or something to get the bitter taste out. Then you pan fry it really fast. The best liver I ever tasted was in a restaurant in London where they did it like that, and they had a butter sauce on it. It was delicious. But you can also do it with bacon, onions.
Sure.
The best tasting liver is poultry liver.
Poultry liver.
And you can make a pate with that.
Okay. Yeah. No, it takes quite a few of that to add up, though.
Yes, right. But the poultry liver is the most balanced for A, D, and K.
Why is liver a superfood? Because you really harped on that earlier.
Yeah, it's the most nutritious food on the planet.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe caviar is a little bit more, but
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna learn to like liver some way or another.
Liverwurst, U.S. Wellness Meats makes the liverwurst. Very nice. Yeah.
All right. So big question here. I really want to hear what you have to say about this. What is it going to take to turn the health of our country around?
Well, a lot of people are not going to change. Their reward is they won't have grandchildren. The way nature does it is called natural selection, and I call what's happening the natural selection of the wise.
Sure.
The Bible says there'll be a remnant left, and unfortunately, I think that's what we're seeing.
Sure. I heard Elon Musk, the Tesla guy, the other day say that the biggest thing threatening humanity right now is depopulation.
Yeah.
And you would agree with that.
And it's going to go a lot further.
It's going to go a lot farther.
Before we stop.
What is it going to take, though, to turn that corner to better health and motivate our youth and their parents to be eating, whole foods? What's that going to take? Because they're not teaching it in the schools.
No. They have to be wise.
Yeah.
Natural selection of the wise.
Natural selection of the wise.
If they're searching, they'll find us. The Weston A. Price Foundation, and we have information in many formats: reading, pamphlets, podcasts.
Yes. Yeah, I've read so much of your stuff, and that the one resource, Weston A. Price Foundation, can change your life completely. If people implement it, they have to implement it.
Yeah, right.
So looking back, what advice would you give your 25-year-old self?
My 25-year-old self.
Yeah. Any advice?
Eat more liver.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. The big mistake I made in my health was the grains. And I talked about this, eating granola and grains that are impossible to digest. It made me very sick.
Yeah, expand on that, because in your talk you said you lost a lot of weight, right?
I wish I had. No, I didn't lose weight. I just had no energy, and I would lie around all day. And terrible digestive problems. So, but once I learned about how hard grains are to digest and that you need to soak them, well, I stopped the granola and it all went away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your tips for grains: soak them and cook them.
Yes, they need to be soaked or fermented and cooked. Grains
Yes.
need, the Chinese would say they need the water and then they need the fire.
And also a good clean source of grains.
Yes, yeah, and
Organic,
that,
preferably
this
not
is the
sprayed.
other problem. The number one source of glyphosate in the U.S. diet is wheat,
Yes.
and not because wheat is genetically modified, but because they're using Roundup as a desiccant
Yes.
right before harvest.
Yes.
So it has
They
no,
just did it up our way before I
right?
came down.
Yeah,
The wheat field across the street.
yeah,
They sprayed it, turns brown,
yes,
and then within a few days they're harvesting
harvesting
it.
it.
But it should. This is 2 months early for natural cycle. It should be dying on its own. You know.
Well, not only that, it's just there's not enough time for the glyphosate to degrade.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and we're consuming that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so I buy einkorn and organic ancient grains. I think is
Yes.
the best way to do it.
For sure. Okay. Do you have any advice, nutritional advice for a young couple out there that wants to start a family?
Yeah, well, first of all, don't dive into it. Do our diet for at least 6 months.
The Weston A. Price
This diet,
way of eating.
yeah.
6 months.
So it's nutrient-dense food. It's raw milk, butter, and cream, cod liver oil, eating organ meats.
6 months before.
At least, yeah.
Before starting a family, yes.
Yeah, and we had a letter from a gal who'd been a vegan. So she did this diet for 2 years, and then she got pregnant, and she had a beautiful baby.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the other thing too, and we do a lot of this coaching in our facility, is if the parents eating is squared away and in order, by default they're going to want to be teaching their kids.
And the babies and the children will have that example.
Yes, for sure. We don't have enough of that now. That's great advice, Sally. Food chain supply issues. Thoughts?
We have, it could potentially get very bad. We have a what we call our 50% campaign. We ask people to take the pledge to spend 50% of their food dollar on local farms.
I love that. I love that.
And that doesn't mean you have to forego pineapple or rice or anything. You can still eat those foods. Because after all, what's local in a world that's all connected with airplanes, you know?
Absolutely.
But I'm talking about independent artisans and local farmers. That's the only way we're going to keep these farms, if people buy their food.
And I was talking with Joel yesterday about that exact topic with voting with your dollar.
Yes, exactly.
And, there are so many people that are saying, we wish we had more access to this, or small farms would survive. And then I asked them in the same sentence, are you buying your food
from a small farm?
From a small farm. And you may pay more, and you may have to go out of your way a little bit. But if we truly want a diversity, decentralized food model, you need to spend your dollar at the small farm and the farmer's market.
We can't do it if you don't buy from us.
Exactly. Yes. Bill Gates, BlackRock hedge funds, China buying a tremendous amount of U.S. farmland. I'm not particularly worried about that. You're not worried about that?
No. Okay. I mean, we have so much land in this country.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know what they're going to do with it, build cricket farms or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not too concerned either. The only piece that I do think about a lot is the cost of land is going up so
yes,
much.
It does make it hard to buy land.
Yes. And so I know in our area back home, we were at like 1,000 to 2,000 an acre like 10 years ago, and now we're 5 to 7.
Yeah.
And here, I was talking with Joel yesterday, they're in that same range, 5 to 7. Out west, 10 and 1,000 an acre. And so I look at like these small farmers or young people that say, I want to get into farming.
Yeah.
And I know you can lease land for sure, and there's different systems for that. But my gosh, if you want 10, 20 acres of land at 10,000 an acre, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but there's ways to do that.
Yeah, I guess. And then, well, it was easier a year ago with the interest rates low.
I know.
Yeah.
Any other advice for people listening? I'm so happy you gave me some time. I was looking forward to chatting with you.
Well, I think what I like to emphasize is that our diet does not involve any renunciation. You can have all the food groups. It's delicious. It's satisfying. You can eat things you never thought you could eat, like butter. And it helps with cravings. There's no magic bullet, but it helps with cravings. And I guarantee if you stay on this diet for a while, you'll have more energy.
Absolutely.
If nothing else, you'll have more energy.
I couldn't agree more. We have many, many clients that follow the Weston A.
Oh,
Price
yeah?
way of eating.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I've pushed your stuff for a long time. And the reports have been remarkable. For people listening, if you want to simplify your way of eating and have it still taste good.
Yes, yes.
And that's the big thing. Still tastes good. So many people think dieting is a raw salad.
Or they're going to these weird diets, you know.
Yes, keto, and they can't have any carbs or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
or autogenous diet with no salt.
Yes.
That's very dangerous.
I agree. Absolutely. All right. Well, everyone listening, Weston A. Price Foundation, look into all their info. Sally Fallon, thank you for taking the time today.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for talking to me.
Okay.